Welcome to the HEOR Insights YouTube channel. In this explainer, we will cover the Incremental Cost-Effectiveness Ratio, or ICER. The ICER is a primary metric in health economics used to quantify the value of new medical interventions and provide a basis for healthcare resource allocation decisions. Our discussion is structured in 5 sections. We'll begin with the definition of the ICER, then deconstruct its formula. After that, we'll cover a practical calculation, discuss the ICER's role in health technology assessment, and finish with some common pitfalls and important nuances. Let's begin with the core concept. At its foundation, the ICER is designed to provide a clear, quantitative answer to a fundamental challenge in healthcare. At its heart, the ICER answers the specifics question. When we consider a new treatment that's more effective but also more costly than the standard of care, the ICER helps determine if that additional health gain is worth the additional expense. So, formally, the ICER is a ratio of differences. It compares the additional cost of a new intervention against its additional health benefit, always relative to a specific comparator. The keyword here is incremental. We are not assessing the total cost or total benefit in isolation, but the change that results from switching from one therapy to another. Now, let's examine the components of the formula to understand how this ratio is constructed. The ICER is composed of a numerator, which represents incremental cost, and a denominator, representing incremental effect. The Greek letter delta, simply signifies change or difference. So the numerator is the cost of the new intervention minus the cost of a comparator. This is then divided by the effect of the new intervention minus the effect of the comparator. The numerator, incremental cost, includes several components. Direct medical costs are things like the drug price, hospital stays, and physician visits. Direct non-medical costs can include items like patient transportation for treatment. And finally, indirect costs, such as productivity loss, are typically only included when the analysis is taking a broader societal perspective. The denominator, incremental effect, is the measure of health gain. While it can be measured in straightforward terms like life years gained or clinical units, the gold standard for most HTA bodies is the quality-adjusted life year, or QALY. The QALY is so widely used because it combines both the quantity and the quality of life into a single unified metric. We'll now move from the theoretical formula to a practical application to demonstrate how an ICER is calculated and then interpreted. The calculation process involves 4 key steps. To illustrate this, let's use a practical example. Imagine a new oncology drug is being compared to the standard of care. The new drug costs $145,000 and provides 3.5 QALYs. In contrast, the standard care costs $85,000 and provides 2.3 QALYs. We'll now walk through the calculation with these figures. First, we calculate the incremental cost, or delta C. We simply subtract the cost of the standard care from the cost of the new drug. So, $145,000 minus $85,000 results in an incremental cost of $60,000. Second, we do the same for the incremental effect, or delta E. We subtract the QALYs from the standard of care from the QALYs provided by the new drug. So 3.5 QALYs minus 2.3 QALYs yields an incremental effect of 1.2 QALYs. Third, we calculate the ICER itself by dividing the incremental cost by the incremental effect. $60,000 divided by 1.2 QALYs gives us an ICER of $50,000 per QALY gained. This means it costs an additional $50,000 to gain 1 extra year of perfect health with this new drug. The final step is to compare this result to a payer's willingness to pay threshold to determine if it's considered cost-effective. The results of an analysis are often visualized on the cost-effectiveness plane. This plane has 4 quadrants. A therapy in the southeast quadrant is more effective and less costly, making it dominant and a clear choice for adoption. Conversely, a therapy in the northwest quadrant is less effective and more costly. This is dominated and a clear choice for rejection. Most new therapies, though, fall in the northeast quadrant. They're more effective but also more costly. This requires an ICER calculation to determine value. And finally, the southwest quadrant represents therapies that are less costly but also less effective, which also requires careful consideration. With an understanding of how the ICER is calculated, we'll now discuss its application in formal health technology assessment. The ICER is used in 2 main types of economic evaluation. A cost-utility analysis, or CUA, uses the QALY as its outcome metric. This is the most common approach because it allows for comparisons across different disease areas, say a cancer therapy versus a diabetes therapy. In contrast, a cost-effectiveness analysis, or CEA, uses natural units like life years gained. This is useful for comparing interventions within the same disease area. Because ratios can sometimes present statistical challenges, the ICER is often converted into a linear metric called net monetary benefit, or NMB. By multiplying the incremental effect by the willingness to pay threshold and then subtracting the incremental cost, we get a value in monetary terms. If the NMB is greater than 0, the intervention is considered cost-effective. This format is especially useful for more advanced analyses, like a probabilistic sensitivity analysis. We'll conclude by addressing several critical distinctions and common mistakes. Understanding these nuances is essential for correctly applying and interpreting cost-effectiveness results. A frequent error is to confuse the incremental ratio, the ICER, with an average ratio, or ACIER. An ACR simply divides the total costs by the total effect. This is incorrect for decision-making because it completely ignores the comparator. HTA is concerned with the marginal or incremental value of switching from the current standard of care. It is also crucial to distinguish value from affordability. The ICER answers the question of value. Is the therapy a good use of resources on a per-patient basis? Affordability, which is assessed through a budget impact analysis, asks a different question. Can the healthcare system afford the total cost of providing this therapy to the entire eligible population? A therapy can have a favorable ICER, but still be unaffordable due to a high budget impact. The interpretation of a negative ICER requires caution. A negative ICER can mean two opposite things. In the southeast quadrant, it signifies dominance, a therapy that's less costly and more effective, which is a positive outcome. But in the northwest quadrant, it signifies a therapy that's more costly and less effective, a dominated and negative outcome. For this reason, one should never report a negative ICER without specifying the quadrant or clearly stating whether the therapy was dominant or dominated. And finally, an ICER is a single-point estimate, but its inputs, both costs and effects, are inherently uncertain. Advanced analyses must account for this. Future costs and benefits must be discounted to their present value. Furthermore, analysts use tools like cost-effectiveness acceptability curves to illustrate the probability that an intervention is cost-effective across a whole range of willingness-to-pay thresholds. The ICER is the mathematical core of health economic evaluation, providing a standardized method for assessing value. While the formula itself is straightforward, the true challenge lies in the rigorous derivation of its inputs. The ICER is a powerful tool for promoting efficient resource allocation, but it also prompts a necessary, broader discussion. Does this single ratio fully capture all the elements of value that are important to patients and to society as a whole?